Hey everybody, it's 𝗗cie𝗰𝗶. Welcome back to the White Sox Podcast. I'm here in Arizona for White Sox spring training, and on the day that pitchers and catchers reported here to Camelback Ranch, who better to have on the podcast than the person in the center of it all, the pitching coach, Ethan Katz. And coming up here on the podcast, we cover a whole lot of ground, including how many pitchers are competing for the starting rotation. The answer will very likely surprise you. Also, the one pitch that made Davis Martin a completely different and completely better pitcher. It only took 3 attempts for him to throw this pitch, and we're going to get the inside story from Ethan Katz. Also, his first impressions of Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith, 2 rookies who have big, big futures for the White Sox. Great stuff from Ethan on both of them. And the pitcher who made the biggest impression here in camp on day one, that and more coming up. So it's an inside look at the White Sox pitching staff, day one of spring training with Ethan Katz. Let's go. All right, Ethan Katz is with me. Spring training is underway. Who's your opening day starter?
Still working on it.
Might take a while to figure that one out.
Yeah, I think so. We'll let things play out a little bit further, but, you know.
I have guesses. Okay. Can I share my guess? It's pretty obvious. Wouldn't you want to set the tone with Martin Perez, a veteran?
Yeah, it's possible.
Not getting much of a disclosure about
to be honest, we haven't talked about it. But
why would you ever be starting to talk about that? You wouldn't be talking about that.
Martin just signed, so I just got to know him. But yeah, he's definitely, obviously, a candidate with his track record and what he's done. So it's possible.
Well, let's talk about Martin Perez and what does he bring to this pitching staff?
I mean, honestly, you know, what he's done in his career speaks for itself, but like the veteran leadership, just even talking to him when he first signed and introductory, like at the end, he was wanting to make sure, like, hey, you know, I really want to do whatever I can to help behind the scenes, and, you know, whatever you need from me, I'm there for you. And, you know, it's, you know, he reiterated that here when we got here. So, you know, the feedback I've gotten from everybody that's been around him has always been positive, and, you know, he's going to bring a lot to the table just from, you know, helping these younger guys develop.
You have all these young guys, right? So how much was it a priority by you, by the front office, to get the right veterans in here to help mold them?
Well, I mean, I think it's always important, right? Mm-hmm. Just to make sure that you have the right cast of characters in there just to kind of help them, because they look up to him, right? And like 𝗏𝗏 was that last year, and I don't even know if you can even really call him a veteran, but you know, the players started to gravitate to him. I think a lot of that had to do with his success. So having that around is always nice, because it's bouncing ideas. They talk during games. You know, we have a great group of guys, and they all are very hungry to learn. So having somebody like Martin could really, you know, accelerate their careers just hearing what he has to say.
New manager. How many managers have you had here since?
Are we counting interim too?
Yeah, sure.
1, 2, 5.
5.
Yeah.
It's been something. So Will Venable. By the way, Will got here at 5 in the morning to work out. Said there were a bunch of other coaches. Were you here at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, I beat him to the park.
You beat him to the park. What time did you get here?
Like, I walked in about 5, but yeah.
Beat him by a few minutes.
That's my everyday routine. So
why do you get here so early?
Because our days are so long. There's no energy at the end of the day. These are the easier days when we're just doing like bullpen. But once you start games, you get done, you get back at 5 o'clock with the traffic sometimes, and then there's no energy to go work out, so you're better off to just knock it out in the morning.
That's right. Okay, so I want to ask you about so many of these pitchers. I guess I'll start with Cannon. So Jonathan Cannon, who has been on a lot of people's radar even going into last season, and he really kind of developed into a guy in the major leagues. What have you seen in his development?
Just, I mean, you know, he came up, had a great beginning. Then teams kind of adjusted to him, and they threw a bunch of lefties out there. And, you know, he got beat up a little bit and, you know, got sent down, but made a great adjustment with his changeup. That pitch took a big step forward when he got sent down. That was something that we kind of talked about, seeing that improve, to be able to combat lefties. He did that. He came back, had that great game against Boston, then had the great game against the Astros. and just kind of really adapted what was thrown at him and learned how to get lefties out better. And we have more stuff that we want to add to him to kind of continue that growth. But it's a 5-pitch mix. He does a lot of things with the baseball really well, and obviously what he did last year, the development continued to grow with everything that was thrown his way.
What would your expectations be for him? What's the next step for him?
The next step for him, we really want to keep honing in, because obviously he's going to see, when he pitches, he's going to see 6 lefties if they can do it, and every team can do that now. So continue the development, really working on his hip shot with his sinker. That's something that we didn't tap too much into. We tried to, but the comfortability wasn't there, and that's something he's really worked hard to get better at this offseason. And we're looking to really put that into play to kind of really accelerate his development.
Realistically, how many starters are competing for the rotation, you think?
Man, my list right now, I want to say there's more starters than relievers coming in. So
have you ever been a part of that before?
No. It's exciting, but it's gonna be really tricky scheduling, just from the standpoint of finding innings. So we're gonna probably have to do a lot of B game backfield stuff to kind of get guys built out, and hopefully we have a lot of tough decisions.
Yeah. So what's the number, like 12?
I want to say 16.
16 starters, and this is with 𝗏𝗏, who went on the injured list. He's out for the year, right? So
yeah.
it was going to be 17.
So yeah, could be. Yeah, it's a bigger number.
It's whatever the number is. It's very, very large. So as you're kind of mapping things out, we can talk about a few of these guys who seem to have locks. Here's Davis Martin, who, if you can just talk about why the changeup just changed everything for him last year and how it all came about, because people might have not noticed what happened and how all of a sudden he had this pitch that was really throwing a lot of hitters off balance because they weren't ready for it.
Yeah, I think it really accelerated his career. He's always been a guy that could really spin the ball, but being able to add the changeup really neutralized both sides of the plate. And how it came about, we were in Oakland. Me and Banny were talking and kind of running through an idea. I was like, we both looked at each other and we were talking about this kick change, and it was like, Davis Martin, like, who are you thinking? He's like, Davis Martin. I was like, well, Davis Martin is like, there's some guys you want to introduce things slowly with, but Davis just has the personality of like, what do you got for me? And I'll give it a shot. And it was like, okay, well, you're starting tomorrow against the A's. We were talking about this. Let's go throw a couple to see what it looks like. And all of a sudden, it was like an aha moment. Like, me and Banny looked at it, was like, that's awesome. Like, that's perfect. That's what we need. I was like, just, you want to hop on the mound. You want to throw 3 of them. We'll get some reads. It was elite, and it was like
elite.
Yeah,
right from the jump.
Like within 3 throws, and he had to start the very next day, so this all happened within less than 24 hours, and I believe he threw 16 of them. And it was
in the game.
In the game, very productive, and it just kind of, it sparked everything over here with everybody in the organization from top down. It's like talking about his changeup, and they're trying to throw his changeup and all that. So very interesting development, and a lot of guys. Just today, after watching everyone throw, like, a lot of step forwards with changeups. It's something that we've been able to say that we're proud of the development that we've seen with guys this offseason with changeups.
Is that, I don't say it's a new thing, it's been in the game forever, but the ebbs and flows of things in the game, are changeups becoming more of a thing now, or is it just you guys are just really good at getting the pitchers to throw it, and you're using that to your advantage?
We're just we're adjusting. Everyone is a sweeper, and right now, change-ups, and it's just adapting to kind of what's going on. But it's been a very good pitch for us, watching some guys develop that over the course of a couple of years, and obviously we're hoping to keep taking steps forward with some of these younger guys.
Yeah, speaking of young guys, so many guys that I'm just excited to watch pitch this spring and this year. Here's one, Hyro Arte. His stuff, and he was in the bullpen last year. Is he one of the starting rotation candidates?
Yeah, he's This was a big offseason for Hyro. And, you know, last year when he got to Chicago, his vert on his fastball was at 2, which is in the tilt on it was like 215. So there were some things that he was completely different than where he was in 23. We asked him to make...
Can you explain that to people, what 2 and 215 mean?
It just was not a... You know, he typically was at 1 o'clock, or 1:15, 1:30, and it dipped all the way down. So he basically was throwing like a running sinker. And, you know, he completely changed a little bit, like mechanically. So, you know, he was able to kind of hone in on that a little bit more. Today he threw his bullpen, and his fastball was back to 1 o'clock. Consistently, his vert on his fastball is up to 17, which is huge steps in the right direction from where he was. So, you know, it was kind of one of the eye-popping moments today on the first day of camp that, you know, the adjustments he's made and what he was able to do. So, really excited from what we saw from the first day.
You have 𝗏 Schultz and Hagen Smith. They're both going to be throwing their first bullpen tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with Schultz. I was watching them play catch, and I'm just dreaming about the future for the White Sox and what these two arms can bring. And Schultz has added muscle, it looks like. He looks like a thicker, bigger guy, and he also grew. He's like 6'10 or 6'11 now.
Grew a couple inches, that's what they're saying, yeah.
When you watch him and you see the whole package there, what do you see?
I mean, I got to see him throw at Sox Fest at the stadium, and that was the first time really watching him throw live, and I was just blown away with how somebody so big has such body control and repeatability in their delivery. Usually it's and how young he is. Usually that comes with a lot of time, and particularly guys that big, it doesn't sometimes even happen. So it was really impressive just watching him throw. You know, I saw the changeup at first, and I looked at one of our analysts, Rod, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's impressive!" And then he was like, "Wait till you see the breaking ball," and I was like, and it was just like, "Wow, this is special." And I'm the type of guy where I really don't get overly excited by guys because I want to wait and see. But both him and Smith both really caught my eye just watching him for the first time live.
All right, and then to follow up with Hagen. They're almost the same age, and Hagen went through college, and 𝗏 came right from high school. But where, you know, when you see someone go through college versus high school, like if you were, you know, if your son, right, had a chance to go through college or just be drafted and come into the high school ranks, what would you want your son to do? As a pitcher?
I mean, I think it depends. Like, obviously, the draft status of where you go, sometimes you just got to go. Like, you know, your first rounder.
You're going.
You're going.
You're taking it.
Yeah, so it's hard to turn down what 𝗏, you know, getting selected where he did. And then, you know, obviously if you go to college and hopefully you can move up on your status. But it all depends. I mean, if my son was a 6th rounder and if he had a better opportunity at the school, I would probably push him to probably go to school. Okay. It's hard.
Well, yeah. Well, for Hagen, what are you learning about him? I mean, you've probably just seen him for the first time because he was in the minor leagues before. So what caught your eye? What has caught your eye with Hagen on the mound?
The ball just explodes out of his hand. There's a lot of qualities that remind me a lot of Rodon when he was here. You know, the big time slider from the left side, and you know the fastball just explodes. So it's very unique how the ball comes out of his hand, and you know I'm excited to see that. Like, you know, the biggest thing, you know, I don't want to get too deep into for the first time I see guys, but messaging to him was like, you're going to see all righties. Like you got your goal right now is to figure out you got them out in college, but you know, obviously higher competition, like they're gonna stuff you with varieties when you start. When
do you know that guys like Schultz and Smith are ready for the major leagues?
I mean, if they start in the minor leagues, you know, obviously it just, you know, I trust the people that I communicate with on a regular basis to kind of tell me, and obviously the front office making that decision. Obviously the results, you know, the biggest thing that I think that they're going to have to learn and adapt to is a 5-man rotation for 6-man rotation. You know, the minor leagues right now is not very conducive to kind of help develop a starting pitcher unless you select this guy and say we're going to put him on a 5-day every single time, and then
shouldn't they be doing that then? If you're
it's
trying to prepare them for the major leagues?
It's hard when you have a standard off day on a Monday.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it's kind of hard when you have a 5 because someone's always getting a 6 or a 7-day, and it makes it a little bit tougher. You have to be really creative. But in the big leagues, you could play 3 weeks straight before you see an off day. So you got to pitch on a 5-day, and adapting to that. Also getting for Noah, like his workload, getting it up there a little bit more. So there are definitely some hurdles that they're going to have to get used to. Just at the that's what the big league level is. All
right. So you say 16, 17 candidates for the rotation. How many for closer?
That's a lot harder. I mean, that's just let's wait and see and kind of see how guys. I think the biggest thing is trying to get the best matchup and put guys in the best position to succeed in the bullpen. Figuring out who might do that is a work in progress.
Yeah. Do you want someone with some experience, more experience in this scenario with this team to be doing it, like a Justin Anderson? I'm not saying you're going to announce Justin Anderson as your closer. I'm just saying, like, do you weigh, and it's not obviously all of your decision, but do you weigh that, or is it like, hey, you're going matchups, I know, or is it someone, hey, we're not expected to win the division this year, let's try players C?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got that far talking to Will, talking to the front office about that kind of stuff. But, I mean, obviously you want to, guys that have had opportunities to do it, obviously there's, it's a different animal. Seeing Liam do it, he's wired differently. Those last 3 outs of the game are hard to get. So, I think it's guys with experience, it's a little bit easier to say they can do it, where a guy, he hasn't done it before, and you can kind of see the pressures that can come from that. So, we'll talk more about it as we get to know more and more of some of these guys that are new into camp and figure out what is best suited for all of them.
You mentioned Liam Hendricks. Do you have a good Liam Hendricks story to share?
Oh, I got too many, but I can't say it on
TV. Very unique person, competitor.
Very.
There's not one story you can share? Nothing? Just being in the trenches with him, or...
I mean, every day he brought it. Like, he wants the ball every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, like, that quality, and obviously the talent behind it is there, but every day, doubleheader, I want 2 saves today. Like, just wired differently. But, he probably, because he had 17 cups of coffee throughout the day to get to that point. But no, he's beautiful, man. He was a joy to have here, and how he goes about his business, a lot of people can learn.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. 𝗵𝗵 I mean, that might be someone who could potentially be a closer down the road. Would you say he's got the stuff to be that if everything goes his way?
Yeah, it was impressive, kind of. He was struggling a little bit in AAA. And he came up here, and the stuff was electric. It was better than what we saw in spring, and he got put in some big moments last year in the big leagues, and he handled it really well. So we're hoping to continue to grow off of that. Sure, a guy that throws 100 miles an hour, you always will think about as a closer. But we're still looking to see him develop and keep going, and he's looked really good through today. He was up to 97, which was like last year around this time I think he was like 92, 93.
He's at 97 already. That's impressive.
Yeah, 97 is bullpen.
Yeah.
So that's good. Like, we wanted to make sure he came in to camp compared to what we saw last year and how he finished. Like, we're still trending in the right direction. He did a good job this offseason.
All right, and finally, you were talking just how this is your 5th year? Fifth year, and we've seen the ups, we've seen the downs, and we're coming off this season that we don't want to talk about anymore. But how would you kind of encapsulate your career as pitching coach and what you've witnessed and where things are at right now?
I mean, I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows. I'm just hoping to continue on development with pitchers, and that will lead to a better outcome as we keep going along here. But I just kind of live in the moment, but I definitely, 21 was special. Obviously my first year being in Chicago, but seeing how exciting it was in the playoffs, the atmosphere that was there, hope to see that again. That was a lot of fun, a lot of good memories that I saw.
Yeah, and there's, among the fan base, if you're really dialed in, you'll see a lot of the talent here, but a lot of people are also skeptical because, we went through this already before and it didn't really work. But you're on the inside, you see the arms here. What would you say to Sox fans who are like wondering, is this going to work? So, well, just from a pitching side.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I've been lucky enough the whole time here that we've seen a lot of big-time arms come through the door. And, I don't make any guarantees, but like it is exciting seeing the what's coming and what's here right now, and like the development stages, that seeing them from the first stages to where they're kind of growing and where they've gone. It's really exciting to see, and where that leads to over time, it's just going to take some time, but the development of some of these young guys and what Sox fans can get excited for, it's coming. Yeah.
Okay. Ethan Katz here on the White Sox Podcast. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it as always.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. 𝗗ci𝗶𝗹 take it away.
All right, Chuck, this edition of the White Sox Podcast is over.